Pros know how to recover from that.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's Thursday, June 3rd. Thank you for tuning in. We're here again, bringing to you Coffee and Cigars live on a Thursday night. Tonight we've got special guest, Mr. George Brightman to your left. And to your right is Mr. Cirilo McLane. Cirilo, as you know, has been on the show before. And this is George's first time here. What's going on, George? How you doing?
Well, you know, technically, it's not my first time here, since this is
That's true.
This is where we chose to join the Meet the Professor marathon and our 2 hours of hosting. So you were really gracious in having both Cirilo and I here for that epic day, and it's the reason why I was in love with this studio from the moment we got here.
Well, thank you.
I love the setting, I love the scene, and I love your work. I love the way it's like, here we are in the lab, and you're half a mad scientist. Like, okay, so I'm now going to demonstrate this coffee making device that you common people cannot own, you know, unless you happen to be in the northernmost island of the frosty town in Hokkaido, where you can get this ceramic that is made by survivors of. Anyway, I love it, man. I love it.
Well, thank you.
I love the place. I love the vibe. I love our setup. Well, I like this murderer's row right here, from the Quiet Storm, you know, from the Quiet Storm to the King of Coffee. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's good to have you. Good to have you again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So how's your day been?
My day's been very, very busy.
Yeah?
I started really early, back-to-back meetings. Didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to get here on time, but luckily I was able to wrap up one of my last meetings sooner than I thought. So
Oh, good. Good.
got on the road on the way to Cockeysville.
We were prepared to riff to deal with the late Cirilo McLane.
The late and the great.
The late and the great.
The late and the great.
Cirilo the Great was going to join us. It was just a question whether he was going to be the late McLane
Or the great McLean.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the great. I am the great.
I am the greatest.
Right on, right on. All right, so like
how about you, Jay?
Me, my day was pretty good. I worked in the shop down in Hamden and served coffee for guests, but it was a little bit slower than the last couple of days. The weather kind of kept people away.
Okay.
You know, the humidity. People don't like humidity as much.
Yeah, but hello, where do they live?
Yeah.
Well,
Right? If they're not used to the humidity now, it's like, okay, where are you from?
I think that's why they don't like the humidity.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because they're aware that their Baltimore summer in the swamp is starting.
It's just they're sad. Plus all the cicadas are here, so everyone's
Yeah,
feeling
but the
it.
cicadas
So
are
the cicadas stick to the skin.
exactly.
Have they landed on you yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
fortunately, but I haven't been hiking or running or doing any activities outside. I smoked outside, but
You're like, oh God. Yeah, so those of you who are not in this part of the country, the Northeast, every 17 years we have this thing called cicadas that have they've been living. They
burrow in.
Right?
They burrow in, and they
larvae
survive
form.
as larvae form. They're laid and they survive on the nutrients that they can get from the ground, which include tree roots and bush roots and everything else. And then they hatch en masse in the billions and take over your life. And if you've never heard the sound of cicadas, think like the sound of a
thousand weed whackers.
well, no, I was thinking more like 1,000 pulleys, you know, pulleys that haven't been oiled with a belt that's about to break, right? And they're all running, going like that, you know. And it gets this is not an exaggeration. They get as loud as 120 decibels.
Oh,
So you're talking
I
about
believe
concert
that.
level sound.
No doubt.
And it's you can't call it white noise because it isn't.
It's not droning.
It's not this thrum because it goes in these cycles and they go up and down and
Yeah,
it's
so it's like a chorus. It's,
Yeah.
tenor start, then the,
right. Well, and the worst thing is that here the way it's cycling is that we have 3 different batches of the Brood X, of the 17-year cycle. 3 different batches, and we're only in the middle one right now. And supposedly the third wave that is coming is the noisiest.
Oh, wow.
So whatever you've been hearing, imagine that it's going to get worse.
Thanks. I was
optimistic.
optimistic.
Instead, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about that. You just put on your earbuds and you dial up past episodes of Onocoffee with Jay, and everything. You'll just mellow
right.
out. You'll be in a fine place.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That is right.
All right. So we're going to start off as you can see. We've been pre-gaming with these guys. There's always pre-gaming. What do we have today? So we had the
L'Atelier Traveler,
Yeah,
right?
L'Atelier Traveler.
Yes.
Which is custom designed to be ready to go out of the pack. They're cut.
I like that.
And the minute that I said, I'm guilty here, I said, the second I saw the color of this wrapper emerge, I said, we have to have coffee with that. And Cirilo looked around and goes, do I have to go make a run? Because I know we can't get a cup of coffee in here.
Not before the show. You know?
Right, exactly. So pay no attention to what's in these mugs. We're all on the Johnny Carson show right now. Who put orange juice in my orange juice?
If my son tunes in, he gonna say, "Who is Johnny Carson?"
Johnny,
what's a newspaper?
Who are they talking about?
Well, but Letterman and Leno, all those guys, they did the same thing. You always had a coffee mug there, but there was rarely coffee in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
So we should put some of this Uncle Nearest in it.
Oh, Jason M. Lewis says, my man G.
All right.
What's going on,
Way
Jason?
to go, Jason. How's everything? Holding it down in Louisville.
Oh, Louisville, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right
He's in Louisville, and you know, the land of fast women and beautiful horses.
Is that what you do with the dirty pie?
Exactly.
A dirty
Boom.
what?
Hey, listen, man.
Dirty pie.
You
With your slugger. Your slugger.
If the highlight of your trip to Louisville was dirty pie, you were doing something wrong. Yeah, you got to go down there with the Quiet Storm, and then you'll have dirty pie. Exactly.
You know, the one time
oh my, that derby pie. That's it, right?
Right.
It's
My,
like
oh
warm
my.
derby pie.
That derby.
I love it.
I got my slugger.
And we haven't even started drinking yet, guys.
Yeah. Not only have we haven't started. We're working on. We got our practice cigars going. We have some cool things for us to smoke tonight. And I know that Jay's format is usually that you guys get to know what he's going to taste in advance, so that you can sort of, you know, sing along with Mitch, smoke along with Jay. But this time, I brought some things for us to sample that are a real treat. So, some of them you'll definitely be able to go down to Tobacco Leaf and hit up Rahul for. Mm-hmm. But you know, we're sampling some special sticks tonight.
We're looking forward to it.
And I brought some coffee for actually I wanted the guru, I wanted the master to gauge what's happening with my friend Eli from Smoke in Manayunk. He's a great cigar guy. That's a really cool lounge if you're ever up in the Philadelphia area. But Eli is this really passionate and dedicated guy, and as a result of going to cigar country, you know, to visit cigar factories and cigar makers, he ended up deciding that he was going to make some coffee. And so he started buying green beans and roasting them at home, and now you can get them from him at Smoke. So the thing is, I got some sent to Jay, actually to me, so I could bring to Jay, and we're going to brew this tonight so that through the magic of smell-o-vision, if you just scratch your screen, you'll be able to...
Here it is, amalgam. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
amalgam.
From Smoke Cigar Lounge.
But the thing is, this is... Well, you tell them what the blend is.
So what they
this
say
is
here
Cigar
is,
Country, Cigar Country coffee.
Hang on a second. I gotta be able to see what I'm doing here. Let me pull these windows around. Sorry, guys. I know it's probably showing you all this. All right, so we've got the amalgam, and the amalgam has 50% Nicaraguan
50% Nica.
from Jinotega, 25% Chiapas from Mexico, and 25% Brazilian Cerrado. And so we put that together into... We're going to brew it for... I'll put that here.
Here, yeah. I can hold it for a moment.
Nice.
Oh, look, we just lost our monitor, but that's fine. We don't need to look at it.
Oh. Hold on.
That's okay.
There we go. There. I put it in the corner. You know, Max. All right, so we're going to make it with our COMEQ.
Chemex.
And the COMEQ, as you may be familiar with, has this pine-based filter that is really the basic. It's really what makes the COMEQ. Like you'll see people use all kinds of metal filters for different brewers, and they have metal filters for this. But if you use a metal filter in this, you're not getting the benefit.
Can you just show them, open back the filter and show, because COMEQ, when they sell these to you, they come like that.
Like this.
And so you have to be able to figure out how you're going to fold it and make it into the proper filter shape and use. And they neglect to tell you that there's a trick.
Yes.
You-
Doing this makes me feel like I'm doing like the seat belt.
Yeah, exactly. You're the flight attendant.
Coffee attendant.
Here on Air Mocha Java, flying straight out of Cockeysville General Aviation in Cessnas.
The X's are here.
Right, exactly. Precisely. And you larger people have to move up. Otherwise, our ass
I bring my own extra seatbelt.
seatbelt extender.
Yeah, I have the extender pack
For comfort.
But actually, I just ask them nowadays, and I've gotten to the point now where I'm just not embarrassed anymore. Like, can I have the extender, please? And they're always like trying to be like discreet. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
Right.
First class should have whatever they want.
Right.
Get a
All right. So what are you talking
Whoa,
about?
whoa, whoa. That was a humble brag right there. He slid that in. First class should have whatever
Do you have
it wants.
a cozy for this belt?
Yeah, exactly. I like that idea. But, I don't know. I didn't know they had first class on flights to Ocean City.
On Spirit, no less.
Spirit Airline. First class is the girl comes by and throws a beer at your head.
So here's Rob from Rob Kristjansson, the guy commenting, talking about the company in the house. He runs a podcast a live stream every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Talking about different movies and stuff. So really interesting stuff. So
cool.
Great to check out.
Cool.
If you're ever around.
What's the last movie he talked about?
Oh, he did Blade Runner.
Oh, wow. So he actually does the catalog.
Yeah. He'll do like all like new stuff, older stuff. Really.
So, Rob, did you do the Blade Runner, the original theatrical release, the director's cut? Because there's like 4 different versions of Blade Runner.
Just 4? I think there's like 12.
Well, no. But there's really 4. Because there's the original version that they made, which didn't have the voiceover narration. There was the theatrical release, which has the voiceover, and then there's the extended version, and there's the director's cut, which is the definitive version of the movie. But anyway, I'll check out the cast because I want to see it. Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so what we're making today is a double COMEQ, which is a little bit different. So we're using 48 grams of coffee to make a double COMEQ, and
so that how much water will you put in when you
750 mils.
Yeah.
So we're doing 2.
So just the same amount of liquid that's in that Uncle Nearest bottle, which we may get to.
We should have heated that and bring
Yes, exactly. Welcome to Jay Carragay's Home Distilling Project. Oh, yes, we're a coffee roastery.
Coffee infused Uncle Nearest.
Exactly.
That's it.
Uncle Nearest himself was coffee infused. Probably a few of those nights he was up late with the still.
Right.
All right, so here it is. How's it smelling? Is it?
Yeah, what kind of nose are you getting out of it?
That's kind of high for me.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some nice like Brightman. Here, have a smell. What do you?
Oh yeah, no. I like that. It's it's a little bit floral, but
citrusy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get citrus.
Right.
Not orange. It's like it's not orange, lime, or lemon, but there's a citrus note.
Yep.
I don't know what.
Yep.
I agree.
It's if grapefruit fucked a honeysuckle.
I know somebody named grapefruit, and I know somebody named honeysuckle.
Right. And then he was a she. Hey, babe.
Oh, there it is. He focused on the final cut for the show. That's what it was.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
The final cut was which version was that?
The final cut is is theoretically what what Ridley wanted to be. Like in between there was what was called a director's cut that I guess they released some years after the theatrical, but there was a definitive version that included a couple of scenes that I think were not in the original movie. It's really great, and it's in a lot of ways I think the final cut is truer to the vision of the story that Philip K. Dick wrote.
Okay.
You know, which is the book that inspired the movie is called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Yes.
So I take it they didn't have any Derby pie.
No, there was no dirty pie. There was no dirty pie, and there may have been fast women, but there were definitely not beautiful horses by that time.
Well, they had the unicorn at the end.
It is,
of that one cut.
Right, but the thing is that Blade Runner is one of a handful of movies that have left such a huge imprint on sci-fi in general, and particularly if you're talking about dystopian sci-fi. So it's almost like you basically go there's the Star Wars inflected sci-fi, which is all happy fun balls, squeeze. Aren't we all? Life is going to be great in the future, and blah blah blah. As long as we defeat these, and then there's the whole world has gone to shit, and we have to navigate.
No doubt.
And we've destroyed our environment. But if you think about the visuals, like you look at half the things that are either on TV or in the theaters now that are sci-fi, whether they can be called dystopian or whatever, they all look like they were shot on the Blade Runner set.
Oh, that's true.
And the cinematography, the performances. So 2001, RoboCop, Blade Runner. These movies had outsized influence, way beyond what they did at the box office when they were first released.
Yes.
Sure.
And they have affected movie makers for generations.
Right. Like Soylent Green.
So
Exactly.
I mean, really though, right? Orwellian concepts.
So Rob's asking, what I want to know is, what is the best movie for coffee and cigar lovers?
Well, it's interesting. I was going to bring this up in podcast number 2 later tonight with Coop, but he recently had Armand Assante as his guest on the Coop show on Cigar Coop, and Armand was the star of a great movie which a lot of people don't know about, called The Mambo Kings. And that was based on a great book called The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love, about these two brothers who leave Cuba and go to New York. This is way before the revolution. This is 30s era, and it's so for coffee, smoking, drinking. If you watch this movie and you think, "Fuck, I was born 3 decades too late," you don't. If you don't say that to yourself, then something's wrong. But it's awesome for that experience. And Armand has one of my favorite cigar lines in all of movies. Mm-hmm. So just after they got their big break and their there's a tragic romance at the center of the thing, but this is where they've broken through, and they're going to be, they're going to be like Desi Arnaz in I Love Lucy. They're getting their discovery moment, right? And Armand staggers into the house they have up in Harlem, and he comes stumbling in the door, and he's obviously drunk. He's and he goes, "I think I'm having a heart attack. I need a cigar." And it's like, that's the best cigar line of all time. It's like, yeah, how do you top that? There's nothing in The Rookie. There's nothing to forget it. It's like, I think I'm having a heart attack. I need a cigar. And just so you all know the truth of that, I think I probably said that about 10 times myself. It's just brilliant. So, the Mambo Kings. If you have not seen it, it's very good. There's a number of you'll recognize a lot of the cast, but it's a beautiful story, and there's a great song at it that one of the characters, like I said, there's a tragic love story that he has composed. It's sort of the motif that runs through the whole movie, that the younger brother, who's a trumpet player, composed to this woman that he knew in Cuba that he fell in love with and doesn't get anyway. It was written by the guy who produced the movie, who was, first of all, not that experienced a movie producer, and certainly not a musician. Oh. But he wrote these. It was beautiful. It was really remarkable. It came out of nowhere. So it's a cool movie. There may be other movies that make you more, like everything depends on, when you say a movie for coffee and cigars, does that mean you want to be mellow and contemplative? You're going to sit there and sip your coffee, or are you going to slam some espressos and chomp on your cigar and go, yeah, I mean, because it's like.
Because that's Sopranos.
Right. The Sopranos or Scarface.
Right.
There's different veins, but, I think when I'm smoking a cigar and enjoying coffee, like the best day of the week is Sunday morning, right? You get the New York Times, and you got a great cup of coffee and a cigar, and there's no, you don't have to listen to the cicadas. The birds may be out there, but you're sitting there doing that. The cicadas sounds like it's a combination between a gangster and like the cicadas are coming. Watch it. Yeah, but anyway,
sounds like Ralph Cifaretto.
Exactly. Exactly. But so you can. Just that mellow time, I think that combination deserves, you should be relaxed. It shouldn't be, you don't want to be like, what's going to happen next or anything like that. It's not, the edge of your seat movies are not conducive to really enjoying a cigar. In those moments, you may want to, like watching Mad Max Fury Road, you can have the end of your practice cigar and sit there and there's nothing mellow about that.
No. That's true. What about those cigar related movies like Keitel's movie? Was it Smoke?
Well,
Smoke or whatever?
There's that's an interesting movie. But what's weird about that is that the guy who, first of all, the cigar store itself is like half a bodega anyway. In other words, the place that he's running in Queens. But also William Hurt, the central character of that, is a cigar smoker, and it's all, but what he smokes is Schimmelpfennigs. He smokes these dried Dutch cigars, and that's his obsession going in there. Now, Harvey's character running the store is selling bootleg, probably fake Cubans out of the bathroom, But the business is, the transaction that brings this guy back and back and back is first of all, all these people are out there going, Schimmel, what? But it's a Dutch cigar. It's a dried Dutch cigar. It's made with Java, Sumatra, and Brazilian tobacco. It was a big deal 40 years ago, and there in the United States there used to be a significant population of people who smoked cigars like that. Because, by the way, if you go around the world and say, okay, are you a cigar smoker? 80% of the people who say yes smoke small cigars, what we would call cigarillos.
Yeah, like
and most of them are
like the
dry.
Toscano.
They're those little fucking,
Toscano, the Italian
but the
style.
Toscani aren't dry. They're just not properly cared for. But it's also different. You realize what the tobacco that's in Toscani is essentially a Kentucky tobacco that is transplanted that they grow in Italy now.
I didn't know that.
By the way, there's a.
They actually grow it.
Well, originally they imported American tobacco, and the American version of a Toscani, Perotti and DeNobili, which you can still buy in drugstores and places like that. Some cigar stores have them, I guess, but those are all made with Pennsylvania tobacco in the style of the Kentucky tobacco that's used for it. So in the old days, you used to be able to buy, like in the holiday times in Italy, you could buy really expensive Toscani, which were made with American Kentucky tobacco.
Okay.
Right? And the rest of the time, and by the way, you should see that factory is the most beautiful, beautiful place. It's immaculate. And all of the women who work there, because that's who makes the cigars, are all dressed in these lab coats. You would think that they're at NIH, right? And it's really elegant. It's really typical Italian, So everything is sprezzatura. There's a little style to it, But that's a different culture, and it's really only centered around 2 or 3 countries in Central Europe. But for the majority of Asia, the Middle East, a lot of Europe. If somebody says they're a cigar smoker, what it means is they smoke 10 a day of these little cigarillos of varying sizes, and they're different blends. Nowadays, some of them are actually made with Caribbean tobaccos, and they're not dry cured, so you have to take care of them. But most of them are dry cured, and believe me, some of them, you might as well be sucking on a match. That's how hot it is. You're not really getting any flavor out of it. It's just this little process.
And what did Colombo used to smoke? He used to smoke a Candela. He used to smoke
Yeah,
a
Peter
Candela.
Falk, the character smoked. By the way, he had really good taste in cigars. That guy, I told him once. I said, I really want to get into your locker at Dunhill's, right? Because in the old Dunhill
Because
store
of
in
course
Beverly
everybody's
Hills.
met Columbo. No, not every.
You're talking about Dunhill in San Francisco.
No, Dunhill in L.A. on
LA,
Rodeo
okay.
Drive. On Rodeo Drive, the old store had the most beautiful upstairs, and they keep the lockers for members, and it was that was really the ultimate, like the New York store was the flagship, and it was,
That was
a
gorgeous.
temple. It was unlike anything, and then the Rodeo Drive store was like the typical, like the difference between L.A. and New York in terms of laid back style and how things would be invisible, so that nobody, you could walk in, and in those days, stars would go in and out, nobody paid any attention, right? But they all had to go upstairs into this little room, and that's where they had their locker and their keeping, man. They were fantastic cigars. They're Milton.
The one in New York, I was there the last week you could smoke in the store.
Wow.
Just by happenstance. I didn't know.
But that was probably the third location. The one I'm talking about that was really great was in the British Empire building of Rockefeller Center, right on Fifth Avenue. You're talking about the one that was on 57th Street, close to Park Avenue, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
built
Yeah.
that to
Yeah.
have to
Absolutely.
reflect the emotive atmosphere of the original store. But the original store on Fifth Avenue, the British Empire building, which is when Dunhill had first begun, when Alfred Dunhill of London, which is what they were in those days, had begun expanding. That place, I used to say, it was run by great people, but all the employees that were there were walking around like they didn't want to crush their socks. It's like everybody had to be very quiet, and you were supposed to behave gentlemanly, And the thing is, it was great. They had this up in the when you went upstairs into the cigar lounge, because downstairs was all the the jewelry and the lighters and leather goods and stuff like that, and all the pipes and everything. But you went upstairs to the cigar lounge, and they had this big coffee table, and the coffee table had a glass top, and underneath it were all the sizes of the cigars that they had pinned down like fucking butterfly specimens. So it was like, oh yes, welcome to my library. You're welcome to choose from these, and that was the height of the days when the Canary Islands ruled the roost. That was what a premium cigar was from the Canary Islands. And Montecruz, the exclusive label of Alfred Dunhill of London, was the Ne Plus Ultra.
How about that?
That was the Cuban cigar of the United States. They were extraordinary. Now, should we get rid of our practice?
Ready?
Are we ready?
All right, we're ready. Here we go.
Can I, we don't have a dump jar, do we?
Oh, just pour it in there.
Can we do it? Pour it in there?
Absolutely.
Toscanos are like smoking beef jerky.
Yeah, exactly. He's right. He's absolutely right.
And he wants to know if this is a
Repurposed and no, but you could use it. You could use one, but you'd have to work out how to put the straps around the outside of the Chemex jug, the flask.
It would be COVID free.
Right. COVID-free coffee. The only problem is if you put that sign outside, people come in and go, "Where's the free coffee?" No, we said COVID-free. So, by the way, this has a nice nose brewed. It has a nice nose brewed, but look how clear it is. Hold yours up to the light. Oh, yes. See, the light doesn't shine through these mugs, but look at that. See, it's like tea.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
wow.
Nice.
It has a green hue to it for some reason.
Green? Oh, that could be the light.
Oh. I was gonna say, I don't know about this.
The main light actually has a plus one green filter on it, so that it helps to balance out the color.
Okay. I thought I was drinking some Derby pie juice.
Jason, you should probably throw up a formula for Derby pie so that he'll recognize that he's not talking about what he thinks he's talking about. There's a guy with a shovel that has to go around the track after they run the race. He has to clean up the Derby pies.
Understood.
No. It's a great. People from Louisville, my mother's family is going to be like, okay, the hitman's coming for you. You can't do that. You cannot diss Derby pie. By the way, you know what? I told you. I'm going down to help Jason launch a cool cigar product with his beautiful artwork in it for a retailer who's celebrating his 50th year in the business. So when I come back, I'll bring you a Derby pie.
All right.
Oh, all right.
It might be old by that time since the Derby. No. I promise you we'll make one fresh.
Is it vegan?
It's got to taste so fishy. Oh, that's right. Are they vegan?
I don't know.
Yeah,
We shall see.
there's just sugar and what?
I
What's-
don't know.
Molasses? I don't know what's in it.
Well, you know what? I'll have to figure that out. I'll see if I can make a vegan version of a Derby pie. I can certainly do it with the crust.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, the filling of Derby pie is not it's not butter.
Right. Well.
Lard.
Well, but that makes it easy because then you just put in vegetable shortening. You know.
Oh, right,
There's
right.
a substitute these days, man. Most people
Okay, you
think
can't use. Oh, that's right.
right, lard. Right. Yeah, that'll work.
This Derby pie tastes like
Oh,
chicken.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We use vegan lard.
I'm not a good vegan. I'm not a good vegan.
This Derby pie tastes
These
like
hogs,
country
these
fried
hogs,
steak.
they were fed snap peas and acorns. All right, so let me ask you a question. This coffee is better than it's better than, you know, generic brew from any coffee shop.
Yes, yes.
It has, I think it had. There's a certain degree of brightness and everything. But what I'm saying is that I think this coffee actually tastes marvelous with our practice cigars. But is it time to move on to our first featured smoke of the night?
I hope so because my practice car is gone.
Yes.
Oh, well, you know, that's because I've been running my mouth.
That's all right. Oh, so you can't really see this, but it's so here's part of the thing with the brightness that you guys are getting, that a lot of the new generation roasters in this third wave, with this so-called coffee third wave, they prefer lighter roast. So as you can see, this coffee is on the lighter side. So
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
But
accentuating it.
I'm certain that Eli roasted each of these beans separately
Yes,
and then
perfect,
combined
perfect.
them, so you can see
That's
when
how
you're
you should
looking at them.
look. He's
You're looking at
brilliant.
there's different there's different roasts.
Can you please qualify that
He's
statement?
br-
Not each of the beans.
Yeah.
Like
Each individual
put one-
bean. Yes, because Eli
This
said
is- this
he's half
coffee
Japanese.
is
He's half
$1,000
Japanese.
a pound.
Right, exactly. And these beans,
We can't
these
afford
beans,
this. If he didn't bring it, we couldn't afford it. We're like,
the music that's played for the trees that sprout these coffee berries, these cherries, they've led the most beautiful existence. Virgins dance around them night and day, and then they come up and they whisper to the tree, "Do you mind if I pluck your cherry?" And the virgins all run away.
more Derby pie.
Exactly. So here's what I suggest we start with, because I think this. Well, I'm not going to prejudice what I think of the taste, but I will tell you this: I think this is an extraordinary cigar.
Okay.
And I believe that the flavors are going to be ideal for what we're about to do, and this is the right way to launch. Right. So this is the 4 Kicks Capa Especial from Crowned Heads, sent to us courtesy of John Huber, co-founder of Crowned Heads, and the guy who turned CAO into a cult cigar. I don't know whether can I get closer to the camera and see?
Sure,
They can't really see
just reach up to it. And,
Well, yeah, exactly. Just reach out and.
Reach out and touch.
But I can't. You can't
you,
really
John.
see. But anyway, we'll leave it like this, and you guys can zoom
let's
in.
do like what they should do like when they want to display it in the shops.
Right. Put the. Well, you got to put the. Right.
Oh, that's not working. I was trying to get
Right.
the. Oh well. That's
Well,
fine.
you can take the spider paper out if you want, so we can put the cigars on display. Here,
pull it?
give it to me. Yeah, I got
So
it. I got it.
the first podcast that I did with, or the live that I did with Jay, we smoked Crown Head.
Oh, that's
We did- we
right.
did the meal
It's like
deal.
a nice circle there.
Well, so yeah, I mean, listen, I was saving the Mildias because, as I said not long ago to someone else, that was the cigar of 2020 that really most surprised me.
Agreed. On
It
that.
was
Beautiful
such a delight. Let me see if I can do this right. And
Nice,
now you
nice.
have. Yeah, I don't want it to fall on your keyboard,
Maybe we'll
but
do it this way. little bit.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring any earthquake putty.
I think
all
you
right,
could put. I
that's all
think you
right.
could put
There
it.
Does that look good?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we? Are we
I think it'll be all
operational
right. If
there?
it falls on the keyboard, it'll just disconnect everyone. So
Right,
it's all
exactly. So if should this bud, do not attempt to adjust your set. We are in control. So it's amalgam coffee and 4 Kicks Capa Especial from Crowned Heads with tobacco grown and raised in Tennessee. No, I'm kidding. And I gotta say, these are. Every time I don't even have to light it up. When I put it in my mouth for the cold taste, it just sends me to a.
That's how I felt
Oh, gosh.
when the Sublime first came out.
Yes.
The 4 Kicks.
Can I borrow
the
your-
mule kick?
The mule kick,
Mule
exactly.
kick. It was like, oh my god.
And that was the size.
Yeah, the size was Sublime. Yeah.
And it was we got to stay Zycar tonight. Remember
The featured cutter tonight is the Zycar MTX tool.
yes,
Lovely.
which for
We have our
people
banner.
for there we go. Yeah, exactly. MTX. Which do you know what MTX stands for?
That I don't.
Neither do I. 'Cause I'm sure it's multi tools by Zycar MTX, but it is a multi.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? But you know,
the crossword champion over here. He can decipher anything. He's the code master. We should put that George Brightman, the code master.
Code master. All right.
the code Godfather. So,
Speaking
but-
of codes, I watched the movie the other day.
Which one?
It was about World War II. Midway. You seen Midway?
Oh, no, not yet.
Midway was
Midway's
a wonderful movie.
was it Josh Hartnett? There's a whole lot of there's a whole
of-
bunch of there's like cameo
Absolutely.
roles in it
Yes.
from all of a sudden Bruce Willis shows up or
Yeah. But it really it was great because it showed a side of the Japanese that you hadn't seen in most of the movies that were portrayed for World War II, and the strategies and the characters. They were really good characters, and it was great. I really enjoyed that movie. The cinematography was awesome.
Yeah, they spent some money on special effects, and it was think about it. It was like a generation late for telling that story because the people who were the audience for Midway were clearly children of boomers, right? So they didn't have a direct experience of World War II movies and stuff like that. The closest they probably got was, if they chose to watch Saving Private Ryan. But Midway was about the Pacific, and in general, the Pacific side of World War II has been told much, much less than the European theater.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so all kinds of incredible things happened there, and heroism and sacrifice and commitment. But Midway, for some reason, was like this. And it was a stacked movie. It was an old-fashioned studio movie because there were so many stars in it.
Oh yeah.
And they had there was a love story in Midway to a degree, right? There was
to a degree. There was some.
Who was the girl?
But it was a strategy movie.
exactly. It was about how we were finding a way to defeat a superior force in the Pacific,
Right, because
who had the advantage
they
of
really did technology-wise.
Yeah.
They were far superior to what we had.
It's hard to comprehend how rudimentary things were at that stage. But anyway, the thing is that it didn't really do that well in the theaters. It came and went with a sort of a ho-hum, and people didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And then when it started to show up like on demand and DVD release, it started to build this audience, and people think of it in a different way now.
Absolutely.
Instead of at the time they were like, oh well, this was a bomb.
Yeah,
It really didn't work.
So I watched the movie one time, and something caught my eye. It was an orders card that was delivered on a Japanese ship, and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Just a regular orders card, and I had to watch the movie all over again so I can get a screenshot of the orders card because my design mind, I'm like,
Yeah.
It's simple. It's utilitarian.
Yeah.
But it's also still elegant and beautiful. And I'm like, wow, how do they do that? You know,
what's the orders card?
So when you get the orders from the higher ups,
Okay.
and telling you what your next move is, right?
Oh,
so,
I see.
so they would print.
Because you're
it
talking
on
about
this-
ships at sea.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Right.
It's about the fleet and the different positions in it, and because they're distant. You know, in other words, there's some that are steaming one way. You know that because we had, you know, the whole point was the way we had to take the Pacific was island by island getting to Japan.
Yeah.
And they were fighting us tooth and nail doesn't even begin to describe it.
Really?
And they had air superiority.
Absolutely.
And
communication superiority.
absolutely,
And
because they could talk.
yeah.
We couldn't.
But what it showed more than anything was that if this was a true replica, it showed that even in getting orders and to communicate that to the commanding officers or whatever,
Right.
the people that did it took the time to really make it still beautiful and really easy to understand.
Yep.
And but also setting little gems in there that just like, wow.
Well, and they struggled to make that apparent. They really paid attention to that in the movie, even though it wasn't. It just went right by.
It was insignificant,
Yeah.
really.
It went over the heads of most of the people who were watching the movie.
But seeing that made me pay attention to the cinematography better and how the shots were set up and what they were really trying to capture in each frame. And when you start seeing the way they pan different rooms, and it's just gorgeous.
Well, and there were a lot of because they were, you know, they would give you the sense of confinement below decks, and then they would give you, you know, like a different. The camera would be low down while you're watching them move through the con, the commanding center in the big ship, and it was really cool.
It really was.
It was.
I recommend that to
it's
anyone
better.
who likes design.
Yeah.
Anyone who likes design really should take a look at that movie.
Oh, I'll check it out now.
Great, yeah. This is
lovely.
it is very
Nice and
nice.
smooth and
It's very nice.
But there's something. Okay. There's something about the finish, the actual mouthfeel of the smoke, which is it's beyond, you know, like one of my top tastes is like that talky feeling, you know, that baby powder coating in your
Yes.
Well, I
in your
couldn't
palate,
tell
which
whether I
is-
can't tell whether that's from the coffee or from the cigar.
It's from this.
That's from the cigar,
It's from this, and the thing is, then when you do the retro, there's another element to this taste that comes through, and I know that this is a horrific cliche to say, especially to modern day cigar aficionados, but really, in many ways, this has a very Habano. This is a very Cuban style cigar. I think that, and I don't think that anybody in today's cigar business, whether they're in the Dominican Republic or in Nicaragua or in Honduras or Costa Rica or anywhere else where they're making, you know, an attempt to make artful cigars these days, none of them need to focus on mimicking a Cuban cigar of any stripe.
I agree.
In other words, all of these countries have extraordinary artists working in them, and they have accomplished incredible things, and they don't need to be like making something that they need to justify compared to a Monte Cristo or a Partagas or, you know, God forbid, a Cohiba. But these have a very Cuban personality. And so what I'm I don't mean that in either a derogatory or an offhanded way. There's a quality, there's an express quality to the great Cuban cigars, which is this combination of floral and funk and a sweetness on the finish that comes through that lasts and lasts and lasts.
But the one missing note that separates it from the Cubans to me is that you don't get the creaminess from this. I'm not getting the creaminess from this, and
Not yet, grasshopper. Wait.
Okay, all right, yeah, but I'm actually enjoying.
Always in
it.
a rush, this one.
But I'm actually enjoying the hell out of this. This is really nice.
This is lovely. This is really lovely.
Yeah, but you brought up Cuba. Did you see the article that talked about J.C. Newman trying to actually import Cuban tobacco?
No.
Yes, that's a recent story. J.C. Newman is petitioning our government to
allow them
to source tobacco for their cigars from Cuba.
But there's a major hurdle to clear there.
Yeah.
And it's not about us, because I think it's probable that you could force that issue if you wanted to, but provided that it wasn't in a huge quantity, they're going to, of course, go ahead. But Habanos, the modern Cuban political structure, does not allow them to export the best quality tobacco. And that's been this way for decades now. It used to be, listen, in what people think of as the golden age of Cuban cigars, here in this country, what we called clear Havanas and were also called bonded Havana cigars, we made more Cuban cigars here than they did, than they exported. Not necessarily what they manufactured, because in those days a tremendous amount of consumption was on island.
Sure.
But the very best from really pretty much the mid 70s to the 80s, the very, very best tobacco, which would eventually go into making the cigars that changed people's minds about what post-revolutionary Cuba was capable of doing, they would not allow to be exported.
Okay. And that's any priming. That's it from.
Does it no, any seed type? Any, because in other words, in Cuba, there's all these different. Not all the tobacco that goes into even the cigars that we know, the great export brands like Romeo
Sure.
Partagas and Upman and Monte Cristo and the new cash grab cigars. Those are made with tobacco that comes from a number of parts of the island. In other words, there's tobacco from Remedios, there's tobacco from the Semi-Vuelta. It's not all from the Vuelta Abajo, the storied, legendary Eastern European. And they all have very, very distinct qualities. In other words, Remedios has red clay, has a beautiful soil, and the tobacco that comes from there is very, very, very distinctive. But they've long had export tobacco. In other words, the Germans and the Austrians for years and years had contracts, and the Spanish too, to extract bulk tobacco from Cuba, but it was never, never, never the cream of the crop. So listen, think of it this way. And in a way, the boom has sort of carried this out through all of the other aspects that we've come to appreciate in the last glorious 30 years of cigar making and cigar culture. To produce these extraordinary cigars that are singular, both in personality, in sublime experiences. The greatest, the Cohibas back in the late 80s, early 90s, the original Trinidads, the Bahiques when they first appeared on the market, the 1492 cigars that they made for the 500th anniversary.
Monte Cristo number 2.
Those were, but Monte Cristo number 2 was always a production cigar. That, by the way, Monte Cristo cigars are made in every factory on the island. It used to be that they were only made at the H. Upman factory, but once the revolution came and they started the rebranding and restructuring, Monte Cristo was made everywhere because it was, before Cohiba, it was the national flag of Cuba. But to produce the export versions of those cigars that everybody recognizes are the most extraordinary cigars that island has produced and amongst the greatest cigars the world has ever known, you need yield, you need quantity, because that's where this extraordinary, like the best wrapper tobacco, the most beautiful Corojo fillers come from. you have to have yield in order to do that. So, you know, you need tonnage to be able to separate the very, very, very best tobacco, and then it gets assigned. And in the old days, it was always about the relationships that the factories had with certain farmers in certain areas, and they were the people who were going to take. And smaller factories might have deals, like the El Redo Mundo factory might have a relationship with somebody at the H. Upman factory. So, okay, we didn't get this, but can you sell us this or this or this, you know?
Sure.
And it would augment what they had to blend and to make cigars with. Now it's all assigned by the government. So, you know, the factories are mostly run by people who are political appointees. They may have agrarian degrees, agronomy degrees, but they still wear fake Rolexes.
Yeah, but would it be coming from the factory though, or would it be coming from the farmers?
No. The farmers don't have any say. In Cuba, the farmers own the thing that stayed, that they recognized early on, was that they could not, the way they did with sugar production, that they couldn't nationalize all the land. They had to leave these individual farmers in control of their plots. So they owned land, which was part of the land redistribution anyway. So that was a good thing in the beginning, and they had it. But there was only one customer. They were not free to sell that tobacco to anybody that they wanted. There was no open market. The government took all the tobacco and they controlled the warehouses that it went to, and then they arranged the distribution of that tobacco to the various factories. So, for instance, throughout the ensuing decades of production, different factories have risen and fallen in terms of priority and prestige. It used to be La Corona, then it became Partagas, H. Upman, different factories, and savvy people would get, for instance, the woman that ran Laguito, which was the factory that made Davidoff. That's why they became famous, not for Cohiba, it was for Davidoff. She was brilliant. She had both the ability to understand and appreciate tobacco, as well as be a political operative and keep the government happy.
Okay.
And she was an extraordinary talent. And of course, after a little while, when people, when you're good like that, you end up earning some loyalty, and different, people would come. They'd go, I got to go out to Laguito and see her, and so pretty soon the government put her on the pajama plan. Like if you get too good and too recognized and too popular in Cuba, we call it the plano pijama. Right. It's like, so that means what it is you get up in the morning and read the newspaper in your pajamas because you don't have a fucking job anymore.
Right. Right. Wow.
But they are responsible for the distribution of tobacco. So remember,
distribution. So you're saying that basically Cuba will never have a quality wholesale program that they can export good tobacco to other countries.
The people that are in charge of allocating what tobacco gets exported to the people that they have agreements with, and they pay a pretty penny for that tobacco.
Absolutely.
They're not. It's not cheap. They're not. This is not a like a subsidized thing. They are political appointees, right. and their mandate is that no tobacco leaves the island, which could result in a cigar being made that would outshine something they did on the island.
Right. So then, if J.C. Newman, let's say they win favor with the government and they get the green light
from our government.
From our government, right?
The next thing,
Cuba would be happy to sell to us, but you're saying this quality would be. But J.C. Newman wouldn't put all Cuban tobacco in one cigar. It would just lace certain, for the lack of a better term, it would lace certain cigars. For the ability to market it as having some Cuban tobacco, no different than the alcohol industry when they say, "Oh, we have some 70-year-old juice that we put in here." It's like you put a ladle. There's a
teaspoon. There's a teaspoon in the 750, and we go, this stuff is really old.
This is awesome.
But so if you think about it, so for J.C. Newman, the ideal combination would be 100% Cuban filler with a binder from the tobacco from the Fuente farm for Opus X. Right. So Opus tobacco for a binder, and a Cameroon wrapper from the Marifels, a real African Cameroon wrapper, and
that sounds delicious.
that
That
combination,
sounds like a dish.
that combination of cigar would be, would be first of all, would be a memorable flavor, because it would be something that nobody living had or at least nobody living that had ever been commercially involved in selling would have experienced, and that
would be special.
It would be the kind of thing that people would line up to get.
Absolutely.
They could charge anything they want for it.
They really could.
They could charge anything they want for it. But here's my idea to make it even better. Here's what has to happen. The tobacco that comes from Cuba. So, the guys are going to go over and they're going to act like they got to pick the tobacco because that's the way it is. And Cubans are going to want photography and theater out of it too and everything.
Story.
But that tobacco has to go back into La Habana and then go to the port. And we have to organize a flotilla of ships that sail the tobacco from Cuba to Key West.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't put it on an airplane. And don't change it. It's tobacco that's been loved in the warehouses after it came out of the fields.
It was rocked to sleep on the transport
on a ship, on
little boats,
on small boats with bales of tobacco under cover of night, which would literally be recreating the bullshit story that all these guys told back in 1962 and 63. In the cover of night, I smuggled out my plants and my seeds, and there I was on the high seas, and they were shooting at me. Please.
Oh wow! So listen.
But sail freight, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's all surface, it's all time, everything is mellow. There might be some Cuban rum on board those ships too, and everybody would be in a happy mood. And then it comes in. You have a huge party when it comes in.
So the infused ones will actually be where the Cuban rum cask spilled open.
Exactly.
And some of the tobacco.
I don't know how this happened. I have no idea how this happened. Don't ask me why this tobacco smells like that. And the government come down and say, oh, you can't use that now. It's infused. That's a flavored cigar. You can't do that. So we have to get that. And then we have to get Glenn Loop has to be there standing in front like Superman, with a big PCA slogan across his chest going, no, I'm the cigar police.
We're working for you.
Right, exactly. So, but the thing is, and then what would really be cool is if you had, cigar makers, old school Cuban cigar makers, who would then take these materials and go to work in the old-fashioned way, where one cigar maker is rolling the entire cigar as opposed to the common pairs.
Oh, absolutely. So speaking of that though, what's the blend on this cigar here that we're smoking? This Capa Especial.
Well, so if you look, it's I'm sure it's
there we go, right there.
An Ecuador it's an Ecuador Habano or an Ecuador Sumatra.
Ecuador
Sumatra. This is the alternative version that Ernesto came up with.
Okay.
And
also this is an EPC made cigar. Okay.
Made it
and by the way, again, this is a United Nations cigar. So it's an Ecuador. It's a Sumatra seed grown in Ecuador.
Okay.
With a Nicaraguan banda, over Dominican tripa, Dominican filler, a Nicaraguan binder, and this Ecuador. So you have this. I mean,
it says it has a little Nicaraguan filler as well, huh? So.
Well,
yeah.
Probably just enough to give it, like a half a leaf to give it a little kick.
Yeah.
But there's nothing strong about this cigar. It's mellow. This cigar makes
it very
mellow.
And if it were Habano wrapper, it would be a lot more dry.
It would be heavier. It'd be heavier. You'd be getting more earth.
Yeah.
And where that would show up most is on the retro.
Yeah.
Right. You would get that. You'd get the rake instead of the gentle.
I tell you, even on the draw, it's a very citrusy cigar.
It goes nicely with the citrusy and the coffee.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, the two are playing very nice together.
Yeah.
You were a genius to suggest this Cirilo the Great. Cirilo the Great. He comes through every time. I'm telling you, Cirilo. Trust in this, folks. If you ever run into him, get him. He'll pull out the coffee and
the King of the North. The King of the North. That's what I said.
Oh my gosh! So listen, this is now as a contrast to this, though. Would you go with a chocolate that would give it a little bit of contrast there, or
well, actually, it would be awesome to drink with this. That the kids in the audience can do a really good hot chocolate.
Yeah,
a hot chocolate would make the finish pop.
Right.
Like
right.
the mouthfeel would be enhanced.
Yeah.
But to be honest, this cigar you could be. To me, this cigar is the last Coca-Cola in the desert. It's so. It's everything you want.
Yeah, so
it's lovely.
It's funny because you don't really get a lot of cigars that are refreshing, so to speak. Right, something
Right, that have a clean finish, that leave your palate. And the thing is,
a brightness to it.
We haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm telling you, when we're down here and we're weeping because we're almost at the end of the cigar, all that's in your mind is, I can't wait to smoke another one.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the mark of a great cigar.
Absolutely.
There are plenty of cigars that are, that you can be amazed at the depth and the power and the complexity, but they kick your ass.
Yeah.
And when you're done, you're like, oh my God, I think I'm having a heart attack.
Yes.
I need a cigar.
Yeah.
I got to go lie down somewhere, right? Where they literally just overpower your palate and all of your senses, and you're like, okay, that was great. It was a fantastic cigar, but I need a week's rest before I do another one. Whereas with something like this, you're like, do you have one more of these?
I can do another
one.
Yeah.
Can I have another one? Because that's it.
So the name, the Capa Especial, is that reserved for a certain style, a certain blend?
No,
Because
I'm sure.
I know Pete has a Capa Especial.
Yeah,
as well,
but
right?
Capa is that's for wrapper.
Okay.
Capa is the wrapper. Cape.
Okay.
It's the Spanish for cape, the outer portion.
Okay.
Capa, banda, and tripa are the three parts of the cigar. Tripa is the filler, the body.
Right.
Banda is what holds it together, the binder, and that's usually selected so it provides proper burn and aroma.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then the wrapper, which is the most expensive and also the most delicate part, gives you your original, your initial mouth feel, whether it's spice like pepper, you get that from a lot of, or something that's delicate and floral, and it gives all of the or the majority of the finish notes.
Yeah, but I'm thinking to myself, if I'm in a factory, I'm saying, okay, what makes this wrapper the special wrapper, right?
I
So
think
if it's
one of the reasons is because I think the roots of this cigar, and John can correct me about this if I'm wrong, but I think the roots of this cigar go back to the origins of Four Kicks, when Ernesto had been working on blends, and they had two that had a Habano wrapper and one that had Sumatra, and they ended up choosing one of the two Habanos, which is what gave the Four Kicks, and then remember that to us the prime expression of this cigar is the mule kick.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
If you can find mule kicks at your local retailer, run, do not walk to get there before they're all going on. Right?
It is. Phenomenal.
So it's memorable in every way. It's one of those things where you just go, oh my God,
like to
that
say
cigar
it,
was so good.
You can
when you
remember.
say mule kick, there's a flavor that's going.
Absolutely.
It's a sensory trigger, and you get it automatically. But this is Capa Especial, and it's one of those things that Ernesto he's very passionate about. Sure. And he said, dude, this wrapper, and when you get the right crop. So in other words, it's not every cycle produces sublime tobacco.
No doubt.
Plenty of it is very, very serviceable. It makes a great blending tool. It's beautiful. It does exactly what you want. But every once in a while, you get some that you're just looking at it. When you're looking at the tobacco as it's coming out of the fields, it's beautiful. But you still have a lot of work to do in the barns. But when it finally gets to the factory and you're opening it up and you're looking at this silky, and it feels so good in your hand, and it smells so good, it looks so good, you just go, oh my God, we have to do something special with this. This has to be elevated.
I mean, I'm loving
The texture,
the matte finish. Like
Yeah.
you have cigars that are very oily and very toothy, but this really has this matte quality to it. Good sheen.
yeah, it's got plenty of oil,
Right,
but it's not doesn't look like it was rubbed with the Davidoff oil.
It does.
Yeah, but it is a very lovely feel on it.
Right.
Well, and that's the other, by the way, Rob keeps asking, what's going on with the coffee with this cigar? What's going on is that they're both making each other better.
Yes.
The coffee is significantly elevating a spice. So here's the other way that you could test this cigar, maybe if you didn't have coffee, to get different notes. And that's to eat a pecan or a walnut with it while you're, so eat that and then puff this and get the some of the nut-like and more base notes out of the cigar, and then you eat a little piece of bittersweet chocolate and watch something entirely different happen. The next time we do this, I'll bring up a little tray of things that we can nibble at while we're smoking the different cigars, because you would be amazed at if you like the oils that are in nuts when you eat a properly roasted fresh walnut, the release that's in that, what it brings out in a cigar is bananas.
No doubt.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we've had those experiences in years past.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that was
In our
great.
extensive testing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All in service to you, our viewers. All of this work was done just so we could tell you how to enjoy coffee and cigars together.
But you know what, George? I think that you could actually drink some sparkling water with this too.
Well, you know the other thing,
and it would just brighten.
yes.
It would brighten.
It would-
the
well,
hell
it'll
up.
pop.
I mean, it would.
but I'll tell you this.
Wow.
I'll tell you the other thing that this is absolutely ideal with. I said this in just the other day in a tweet. Champagne.
I can see this.
If
Yeah,
you
that's
drink
the same
this with
reason why I would say,
champagne, you'll be sitting there going, and by the way, don't, I don't want to come off like Robin, what's his name,
Leach?
Robin Leach. I have very, very simple taste. Just give me the best of everything, and I'm completely satisfied. But I will tell you this: if you're ever in a place and you have to look over the wine list to match up with almost any food, but certainly with cigars, the easy thing to do is get one of the best bottles of champagne they have on there, and it will make any cigar you smoke much more enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you don't have the budget for that, just a nice prosecco would work.
Yes.
A nice prosecco would work.
A nice prosecco with a Havana. It's a great combination.
Perfect.
If you're fishing, you can hold on to the wood and you're not crushing the cigar. And then the prosecco, you have to put that in a tin cup when you drink it. It's very important.
Oh wow!
But Jay, thank you. A masterful brewing job.
Oh, thank you.
A masterful brewing job, and it's beautiful. But and so, by the way, we're all talking about this cigar, and I like I said, I urge you all. I believe that Rahul has some of these at
Does he? Okay.
at Tobacco Leaf right now. He did the last time I was there, but they're not going to last long because there weren't a lot of them made. So go and get them if you can, and tell us if you think we're full of shit or not. But I guarantee you're going to be like, wow. However, the challenge with starting with a cigar like this is where we go from here.
Where do we go? Uh-oh.
And so, I'll just a sip. Just hot me up there, diner waitress. Okay, that's good. No, save for yourself.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Cirillo, he has he's old. He has to go to bed early. So, but we have a cigar which is up to the task of following this up, even though I don't think that it won't dance with the coffee the same way, which is why I think we should open something that arrived recently with the Quiet Storm.
Yes.
The great Cirillo brought something.
Yes.
Yes.
The Nighthawk.
Did you guys need any water?
The great Cirillo.
We probably should.
Yes,
well,
we
no,
probably-
I think I'll just do some ice.
Would you
here.
grab there's actually in the fridge on the door, there's a
A bottle of
glass
water.
bottles.
Okay, we'll do.
So we do have something to follow this up with, and adding Uncle Nearest into the equation is a great step. There you go.
Thank you. Oh, where'd he go?
Magic. Yeah, he left. He said, "I've had enough of this. This guy talks too much." He must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle. I can't get a word in edgewise.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
So if you have any questions out there in the audience, feel free to put them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them or at least address them at some level.
Yeah, put a stamp on them and mail them and snail mail by a month or so when
We'll do it again.
when I'm back in beautiful downtown Cockeysville.
Downtown Cockeysville.
Exactly. Coming to you from high atop the Sprostery.
With 10,000 megawatts.
Prosecco. Jay is dissing your. Jason is dissing your suggestion of Prosecco.
Thanks, Rob.
He's like, no. We got to go. We got to go Champagne all the way.
Listen, I never really enjoyed Prosecco until I had
Good Prosecco.
Bananas Foster. So the chef I did a restaurant with in Virginia Beach. He made Bananas Foster French toast.
Wow. Yeah. Of course.
He did a Bananas Foster's French
It's
toast.
a New Orleans classic.
And it was very sweet, of
Yeah.
course, right? And he said in order to enjoy it, you had to cut
You
through.
have to have something with a little bit of acidity and clarity to get through the.
And he said
And
that
brightness.
nothing would work the way that Prosecco would.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience with it. And I keep a bottle of it
Yeah.
now because
Oh, yeah.
there are some times when, things are just too overpoweringly sweet. You don't want to get rid of it, and you want to eat it slowly.
Prosecco, exactly.
Like, bam,
And
that's-
Prosecco cuts through.
Right.
It cleans your palate and gets you ready for the next blast of heavy mouthfeel.
Right, and
It cleans.
you don't feel bad about it. It's a cheap. It's inexpensive, so you don't feel bad about the combination of like an expensive champagne or
Right.
sparkling wine with it. Like,
Right.
who wants to do that with
Yeah.
something that's dessert like?
Yep.
So.
By
I'm
the
trying
way,
to help you.
Bananas
I'm trying to help
Foster-
you out, Jason.
Bananas Foster sounds like a kind of a comic that would be headlining Off the Strip in Las Vegas. And now the comedy starlings of Bananas Foster. Look out! It's coming your way.
Look out!
Strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Everybody.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Bananas Foster and his band, the Banana Splits.
The Fosterettes.
So
You're
yeah.
right.
So we have the.
Well, I like that. That's Vegas. The
Yeah,
Fosterettes.
the
They got to come in
Fosterettes,
there. The Fosterettes. You may have seen the Jaegerettes, but have you seen the Fosterettes? Oh my God, they're bananas.
They're bananas. Love it.
I do love it.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the Uncle Nearest, the 1884 small batch. It's 93 proof. I don't know how many of you all have enjoyed this yet, but
Uncle Nearest, what's that all about? Who's Uncle Nearest?
So Uncle Nearest was the black
The
black guy.
unwillingly employed,
unwillingly
the indentured servant.
So it's funny
in
because
Lynchburg.
I heard somebody say something one time where they were saying, there's a difference between a slave and an enslaved person. But it sounds like one would be the other, but it's not, right? And a slave is a condition, if you think about it, where enslaved is about the people who were perpetrating.
It's about the subjugation. It's about the subjugation of another human life.
And I think as we try to round these corners around fixing some of this language,
Yeah.
that's an important piece. An enslaved person is a person that's there at the oppression of others, versus an enslaved person was like, oh, he was enslaved, so we just took him on our farm. No,
That's right.
that's not what happened here. But anyway, he was very instrumental in.
He's the guy that taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey.
Pretty much.
He's the guy
Pretty
that
much.
taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey, including the recipe. Now, this part is not necessarily clear in the anything that can be documented. He's not necessarily ascribed as the inventor of the Lincoln County process.
Right. We would call him more the master distiller of Jack Daniels.
Yeah,
Right.
but again, you want to put it on in
That way people
put it
can
on
see
display. So this is by the way, Dal, the size of the 4 Kicks Capa Especial that we're smoking is the Corona Gorda, which is what I recommend because I guarantee it is the shape that Ernesto made, that Ernesto and John made when they were working on this blend. Afterwards, you know, they can vary it so that there's a Robusto and you know they
won't
can
see this in
expand
an
it.
inch.
No.
This won't be a small batch inch project.
No, because the very nature of an inch is that the filler is going to overwhelm whatever you're using
Absolutely. So the wrapper
for
can't be
a
special.
wrapper. So Capa Especial in an inch cigar is an oxymoron.
Right. So it would be
Yes.
it would be what you call the filler? What's the
Tripa.
tripa?
Yeah,
Tripa
exactly.
especial.
Tripa Especial. Exactly.
That's what we're gonna start calling the inch.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Salute, guys.
Tripa obese. So here's to Uncle Nearest.
Yes,
here's to
Uncle
Uncle Nearest
Nearest.
getting recognition all this time. By the way, that was another thing that they managed to force into the conversation when they extracted this concession from Brown-Forman, from the owners of Jack Daniels.
Right.
The Jack Daniels tour, which was famous and legendary, they were in the business of telling people about their whiskey making long before, like, the bourbon boom and long before bourbon tourism became a thing that people would talk about. They never used the S word, which is literally how they would just, you know, around the
Right.
campus, they'd be like,
Right.
we don't use the S word
Right.
when we're here. It's like, no, bullshit. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
so this is the Fawn Weaver did a remarkable thing.
She really did.
In bringing this to
Now, who's Fawn Weaver?
she
the CEO
yes.
of Uncle Nearest. And what's funny right now for she's working on a $50 million fund to help African American distillers get into the business.
Yeah.
So Uncle Nearest has been so successful that she doesn't want to stop there. She wants to help to bring this art.
She wants to foster another generation
Absolutely.
of people who are inspired by this, but dedicated to bring their own energy
Absolutely.
into what is there. So here's the thing. This, by the way, I think currently there are 3 expressions of Uncle Nearest available in the marketplace, and we are drinking the baseline.
That's right.
Which is legitimately a Tennessee whiskey, and even if you examine all the things that make a Tennessee whiskey, it's really a bourbon, but there are a couple of key things that make Tennessee. For instance, what I referred to, the Lincoln County process, which is that the whiskey has to go through sugar maple charcoal columns for filtering, for post distillation. That is what lends Tennessee whiskey its unique character. And there's really only one distillery out of the many that have emerged now in the bourbon and rye renaissance. There's only one there that does not use the Lincoln County process, and that's by law. The Tennessee whiskey, by definition, incorporates the Lincoln County process, with one exception, which is recognized in the passage. But so the difference between Uncle and so, by the way, I said the 3 expressions. I urge you, if you go into a liquor store and you see an array of them, buy the one that is 100 proof.
Absolutely.
Buy the bottled in bond version.
Right.
But here's the difference. Like, if you were to pour Jack Daniels with this and then taste, it would be a little more robust. It'd be a little bit more muscular in all of aspects of its flavor, but in particular, it has to me, a very sooty finish.
Okay.
In other words, the sugar maple, that process is most evident in Jack Daniel's, much more so than any of the whiskeys that George Dickel produces, which also use that process. But anyway, if you taste this, there's just the barest hint of that in here. It's really subtle. This is actually a pretty delicate whiskey. This is not a Mama He-Man and
No, not at all. This is on par with what you would get out of a Scotch. Actually,
this is a
Yes.
finesse. Yeah,
Right.
but for people who may be more American whiskey drinkers, he's not talking about Isla or like Lafroig
No,
or
not at all.
Lagavulin or anything like that.
no,
it's
no,
not
no,
about
no.
the peaty. It's not
No,
about the brine.
not at
It's not
all.
about the cough medicine aspect. He's talking about the fact that great Scotch whiskeys, really spectacular single malts, have this super heathery, delicate quality that is like this. It just makes love to your palate.
right.
It's so there's depth to it without having any power. It's not at all about strength.
Not at
And
all.
that's
Not at
why
all.
so many of the, if you're an American whiskey guy, you look at, okay, I want 100 proof or, 110 or something like that. If I want to add a little water, I will, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But you look at most single malts and they're like 86 proof. And you go, wow, but they don't lack anything in flavor characteristics as a result of that.
and they linger too.
But they have
More,
finishes that go on for days.
I mean, just
But
sit
this
there.
is so delicate.
Yeah.
It's so, and I'm not saying that like this is a cup of tea or anything, because
Oh no,
this has
it is
this
not.
has-
What was it? 94,
90.
I think it's 90. Is it 93?
93
93.
proof. I mean, it has some oomph to it,
Yeah, it's not.
but it's
we're
not. It's not overpowering.
No, and
by
I'm really
any
surprised
means.
also how light
Yeah.
the color is.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
but you realize what that is. That's a function of age.
Mm-hmm.
That's a function of age. Color in whiskey comes from its time in the barrel.
Right.
So this, like all bourbons, has to be for its minimum, for whatever declaration it might be, whether it's just bourbon or straight bourbon. It has to be in barrels for a certain number of a certain amount of time in order to like bourbon, just off the rack bourbon, and it's the same is true of rye. But if you take it off the still and put it in an oak bucket and then carry it over to the bottling line and pour it in, it meets the conditions to be called bourbon because it was put into as long as the bucket was brand new and charred. It could be if it goes into a new oak bucket. But that's not where
Bucket not being different from a barrel.
Well, no. Bucket, you could literally, if you wanted, like in the beginning, a lot of things like the Hudson Whiskey Project up in New York, they were putting all their whiskey in 5-gallon barrels, which is tiny. A typical whiskey barrel is 53 gallons
Right.
now in the modern era, 53 gallons. But they were putting them in 5-gallon barrels, and they were spending only 24 or 28 months in it. A very short, which in a smaller barrel makes sense.
Right.
The smaller the barrel, the less time. Because there's more. There's more contact.
So when you say bucket, you're not literally.
No,
talking about,
you could. What I'm saying is to reach the legal definition of bourbon, which is an American spirit. You can take White Dog off the still, put it into a new charred oak bucket from the still, and then walk it over to a bottling line and pour it in. And
Are you
that's,
kidding me?
No. That's legit. As long as it spends time in a new charred oak vehicle.
Any amount of time.
Okay, but you couldn't use that. So once you
No one would
reuse
buy
that-
it. No one would buy it. But you could do it.
Now, once you use the bucket once and go pour it out, now you can't call it bourbon anymore, though, right?
Well, that's why the bottle costs $100.
It's a one-use bucket.
So Dal, limestone has it doesn't. There's no. It's not about limestone is the mineral that gives the water. So a lot of whiskey makers, particularly in Kentucky and Tennessee, brag about their water source. and it comes through a limestone shelf, and that's what gives the mineral qualities to the water, which a lot of other whiskey makers in other parts of the country add into the water that they have, which has been deionized and neutralized, and then they add in the component flavors. But that doesn't have anything to do. The filtration.
Cool story about Widow Jane. Then.
Yes, their water is the key to the personality of the whiskey.
Absolutely,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a limestone shelf that comes through.
Of course.
And I'm sure you remember the story behind the Widow Jane. Is how they went after the farmer who actually owned that shelf, right? Mm-hmm. For years and years and years and years.
Yep.
And he would never sell them the rights to the water.
Right.
And then he died.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then they went and told his wife,
they said,
Jane.
Here's the money, widow.
Who was the widow?
Yeah, I need, here's the cash. Go take a cruise somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll handle it from here.
She's like, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Shove that giant pile of cash my way. I'll take it. Right?
Yeah, and that's
God bless.
That's a beautiful whiskey as well,
it's
right?
a very distinctly. What I love is that they've actually managed to create a whole coalition of distillers that they basically call the Empire State. So all these New York guys have gotten together, and they produce dramatically different personality whiskeys, but they're all bonded together in terms of certain processes and what they do, and the outcome has been.
And the Hudson is one of the and I love the Hudson. It's a little more metallic on the front end. Like as soon as you open it up,
it needs to oxidize. You need to open the bottle. You need to open the bottle and let it sit there. But you know the reason why you like Hudson so much.
What's that?
Because it's musical whiskey. You know that the barrels are blasted with rock music all the time. In the warehouse, in the rick houses where they have the barrels stored, and now they use full size barrels. By the way, Hudson they're now owned. It's not an independent, but that guy. The man that started Hudson Whiskey is basically the guy that enabled a lot of the independent boutique whiskey manufacturers around the country, because he fought for the rights to be able to produce. That was the first distillery opened in New York since Prohibition.
Wow.
And Ralph Lorenzo, he's the godfather of a lot of boutique whiskey making. But their early thing was they had these baby barrels, and they put them in the rick houses, and they played rock music, because the theory was the bass was moving the whiskey in and out of the barrels. Now, I don't know that this part is actually true, but the one thing that you know is when you go for a tour, it's what you hear. The guy who was the drummer from Metallica was up there and ended up taking a tour of the distillery, and he heard the music that he was playing, and he goes, "Well, that's us." And they said, "Yeah, well, this is how we let the bourbon rest. This is we chill it with the music, you know." And he's like, "Wow, really?" So he actually composed music and had Metallica make a soundtrack, which is what the Hudson Baby Bourbon matures to, you know. Now, I don't know about you, I can't think of the idea of relaxing and resting to fucking Metallica, but you know, each to his own. Shakuna Songu, but you know what the.
It's like Noriega, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Oh man, but it is very distinct coming from New York. I mean, regionally, just all your whiskeys across the world are very, very distinct to the space where they are created, and I love that about it. Is you may never get to Japan, right? But you can really taste Japan and Japanese whiskey.
So,
right?
of course, but you have to buy very carefully, because the dirty secret of a lot of production Japanese whiskey is that the spirit is actually made in Scotland and then brought to Japan and matured there. Mm-hmm. So now there are of course great distilleries in Japan that are making a point of saying, we distilled this, we didn't take juice and start to begin to transform. Which, you know, listen,
I don't mind
where a whiskey rests. No, of course.
I think
that's a great pedigree,
right?
but where it rests and what it rests in is has everything to do. So Mizunara oak, you know, the Japanese oak that they use for a lot of these special projects is absolutely extraordinary. But what it means is that it has to rest for a significantly longer period of time in order to get that effect. Because first of all, it's very, very, very tight, and because they don't have the kinds of swings.
It's the climate swing.
The secret to American whiskey and why American whiskey is so great at 8 years old, where you're wincing and making a face when you drink 8-year-old Scotch, is because the swings in temperature in an American season from winter to summer moves the whiskey in and out of the barrel much more than
Absolutely.
a place where there might be 25 or a maximum 30 degrees difference between winter and summer.
And not just the temperature, but also the humidity.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is why proximity to the ocean is one of the things that lends particular scotches their character.
Absolutely.
That Speyside stuff is very, very much true.
Yeah.
And Isla, which is super briny. You can really taste the water from the coast.
Yeah, I like it too.
But so what I was going to suggest is we should have you make some Japanese coffee for us, and I'll bring some Japanese whiskey for us to taste. Unfortunately, we don't have any Japanese cigars, but we can, we'll think that they came from Japan. This is a very special Havana cigar. By the way,
we'll get some Hawaiian cigars.
Yeah,
it's close enough.
Exactly.
Do they still make cigars in Hawaii?
I think
There was one brand called the Kalakaua.
Yeah.
That was actually quite good.
It really was. I enjoyed that.
But you know how expensive that was?
Yeah.
The notion of, the cost to bring the tobacco there and all. I mean, oh my God, it's like.
Well, that one they grew on the island.
They grew some of the tobacco,
Yeah.
but really what it amounts to is, it's like the old days in the 1970s when they'd say this is made with bonded Havana tobacco. They'd be like, yeah, there's a bale, and they would shake the bale over the cigar maker's table, and some dust would float down, and they'd go, okay, so this has Cuban tobacco in it,
blessed.
Exactly, precisely,
We've been using the same bale since 1969.
right. Well, one of the original great Honduran brands, which are that's where American tastes first found a flavor in a premium handmade cigar that reminded them. There was one of the great brands that succeeded early was a cigar called Bonsis from Villazon, made in Honduras, and their tagline was Bonsis for the man who misses his Havana. But their sister brand, both Punch and Hoya de Monterey, originally in all the boxes, but then shortly after it only became the Rothschilds, which was one of the most popular cigars, paragraph. To give you an idea, when I first started selling them, they were 40 cents a piece. And when they went up to 45 cents, all these guys went, 45 cents? I'm not paying that.
Never.
I'll smoke something else. Oh, fuck off.
That's outrageous.
And they hopped in their Model T cars and drove off.
Exactly. And they went to their ice chest where they were keeping the milk, which was delivered in glasses, in glass jars with cream at the top and sealed by wax. All the boxes were marked Havana 1959. This is into the 70s.
Right.
And eventually they said, okay, you got to stop this. So they said, okay. And they, great marketing guys, they said, okay, we'll take the Havana off. It still says 1959. The customer can reach his own conclusions. Like, oh yeah, so this box was printed in 1959. I don't know about the tobacco, but by God, it was great. Listen, I hate to say this, but we're getting closer to the end of our time. We've been having so much fun. Time flies. I don't know about you guys out there. You're probably going, when are these guys ever going to shut up? But
Jay hasn't said anything.
Like I said, he's our mute host. So
I'm still alive.
Exactly. The quiet storm and the blabbermouth have been taking over everything. But so here's what I would suggest. Do we want to put these down and actually go to the Mil Dias? So for the next half an hour, we can smoke those with the guys with this Uncle Nearest.
I don't mind.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
So
let's do that.
So this is another cigar from Crowned Heads, which is really exciting and it took me by storm last year. So we're gonna smoke the practice size of Mil Dias, this Fat Boy, which is like a Robusto on steroids. Oh. And these are, I don't know whether you can see this size. but by God,
Let's go a little higher.
yeah, you let the pro do it. You know, the amateur who doesn't know his way around the studio should get away from that wheelbarrow. You're no good with machinery. All right, so Cirilo, we'll give you the prize. Jay, pick your poison.
What,
And thank you to John Huber for making this cigar.
Thank you, John.
Thank you to Pichardo for creating it,
Gracias, Pichardo.
and Luciano too. He deserves credit. But
Y Luciano.
and this is the they call this the Edmundo. I wonder where they got that name.
So this is like a big Rothschild.
Yeah, it's like a Rothschild extra. And man,
Oh, that's nice. It's a little richer on the nose.
yeah, this is earthy and that sort of bittersweet chocolate powder.
I haven't
you know,
had this size yet.
dude, these are. I think these are really.
This, it's funny. I never really looked
Do you
at
mind?
this cigar as having a rustic wrapper, but now that I
Well,
look
by
at
comparison,
it now,
by
right,
comparison to that silky Sumatra,
right,
here's
right,
your
right.
Official cutting by
MTX.
I'm going to join Cirilo in this one by the Unbanded.
Oh yeah, well that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm going to continue to pay tribute to our friends.
Well, even though,
By the way, the one I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I will tell you this: unlike many cigars that you buy today, this band comes off easily in one piece and doesn't do any damage to the tobacco whatsoever. And that is a rare treat as far as I'm concerned. Most people go a little too heavy on the glue on the cigar bands.
So what's funny is the last time that I was on the show with Jay, we smoked a Mil Diaz. I think we smoked a Corona.
That's right.
And we talked about the story of why I stopped smoking why I stopped smoking Crowned Heads, and after John Huber saw the show, he
Reached out to you,
reached out
didn't
to
he?
me. He sure
Yeah.
did, and I wasn't sure whether or not he had done the Blackout Tuesday last year, and he said we certainly did.
Yeah.
We had some people who unfollowed us for doing that. He says, but
fuck them.
I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Because it meant something to him. And I also told him I apologized to him for not reaching out to him sooner or at all, like I had planned on doing. And he's just such a gracious guy. He's such a good guy.
Well, and John has soul.
Yeah.
Understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If in this business you talk about guys that were not born into it, because he's a child of cigar boom. First of all, he's a marketing whiz kid, but he's got an incredible palate, and he is a really sensitive guy at producing unique blends. In other words, when Crowned Heads comes out with a cigar, there's a reason for it. It's never a Me Too cigar. It's
Right.
never we can do that as well. Every expression that they release, every brand, whether it's Headley Grange or Four Kicks or La Carême or anything else,
Right.
there's a reason for it, and it has its own personality.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they are he's got he and Mike. I'm not trying to write Mike out of the picture. They have great palates, and they are self-taught in the sense that they got where they did by being great students of what was happening. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
And their approach has been rewarded. It's if you see something new from Crowned Heads and you pass it up, you've made a mistake.
Right. Well, one of the things we talked about too was the fact that I think he said in retrospect, if we would have done the Mason Dixon again, he would have named it something different,
Yeah.
you know. And his whole idea was Pete had the east west,
East and West, exactly.
and he was thinking the north south,
Yes.
and instead of just calling it north south, it's like, oh, let's be creative. And that creative kind of went.
But
awry, you know what I mean?
It somehow there might have been a. It's hard to be as woke as you need to be, and it's hard to be as culturally sensitive to everything. Because, by the way, you know, Mason-Dixon is it's a geographic distinction. It's a you know, something that was done by a surveyor, and it's not like it was intended to delineate. These are the rebels.
It was the line of demarcation for you know, and I get it. I think the climate.
By the way, I'm not apologizing for him using Mason-Dixon, because I think it might have been ill-advised. And you're right. If he had looked at it from a different lens, he would have said, "Okay, let's not do that. Let's find another way." But I don't know that north-south is the alternative, because there are too many people where north-south. You know, listen, we got a lot of people in this country who went to school where they educated them about the war of northern aggression.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know,
no doubt. It's a no-win. It was a no-win situation.
Exactly right.
Conceptually. Exactly. Right, but I do applaud his effort and him reaching out so fast, and after the show, and saying,
because he cares.
He does care.
Because he cares.
And that's what I knew him to be. I knew him to be that guy from years ago, and I wish that when I composed that email that I would have just hit send, and he would have. It wouldn't have been a 5-year stretch of me not smoking Crown Heads in protest, you know.
Yes.
You know, and because I missed some good cigars during that time period. Yeah. But you know, I mean, everybody, you live, you learn, you grow, and
so if we ever revive Tweet Up, we can go down there and raid his humidor, right? And say, well, take me on a little. Me on a little.
Is he in this area?
No, he's in
Nashville.
He's in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's. I'm telling you, music is he. That's why I said everything.
Remember he did the drumstick?
Yeah,
exactly.
Precisely.
You know, that's so cool.
Music
man.
has informed so many of the decisions that they have made, and all of them have been, you know, appropriate.
No, it was one of his blends that he did where he said it reminded him of a song. Was it the Headley Grange? Yes, it was the Headley Grange, because the Headley Grange was actually the name of a studio where one of the songs were recorded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. John's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He's better than
guy.
a good guy. He's a great guy.
Yes.
And by the way, thank you, John, for sending me these cigars, because they are an extraordinary treat. And as I promised you, I wanted to share them with both of these fine gentlemen. But I wanted it to be on Jay's show so that we could have some fun pairing it and go through and share our joy at smoking them. Jericho Hill.
No, that was done out of my father's factory, right?
Yeah.
The Jericho Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, so they work with different factories.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they. Yeah. Although the original, the things that sort of got them on everybody's radar were all done with Ernesto at his at the new EPC. In other words, post when he established his own operations after his non-compete had expired with
LGC.
The Evil Empire.
No, the Jericho Hill had a broadleaf wrapper on it. Dark. Yeah. Beautiful.
The interesting thing I thought about Jericho Hill was that the cigar had a totally different personality when you went into a cigar store, bought it, and smoked it, versus when you took it home and put that box in your humidor and let it rest. Mm-hmm. Something completely different emerged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It even got, when you aged it, it lost a little bit of its dark.
It lost its like
edge.
leather deep funk that sort of it lost some of the power. Exactly.
And it was like you could, when you smoked it out of the box, you could really distinguish the different tobaccos in it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you couldn't maybe necessarily. You could, but I couldn't necessarily name out what I'm tasting. You know, but when it rested in the humidor, 6 months to a year, it melded together like
went from ZZ Top to the Moody Blues. Right? I mean, one was this, let's party, and another was this.
It went from Nashville to Memphis.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that was beautiful about the Jericho Hill.
Yeah, and it was like the $1 Million Band from Memphis. Right? So I wanted us to be able to light these up and to get some sense of how we would enjoy this flavor now, but also have a way to sip the Uncle Nearest and get some of the different elements of Uncle Nearest from this versus what was happening with the Capa Especial, because this tastes different with this and this tastes different.
Well, look, how about the serendipity of it all too, with being a Nashville, Tennessee whiskey.
Yes,
and
it's nice. And Tennessee dreamed up cigars.
Yeah.
And by the way, Mil Dias means 1,000 days, which is how long it took them to come up with this blend. Tony, you will not regret your purchase. I promise you. You will not. Absolutely, you will not regret it.
I agree with him.
Yeah,
and if you do, ask Jay for your money back. Was the old Groucho Marx? If you're not satisfied with this product, please contact us immediately, and we will refund you return the unused portion of your product, and we will return the unused portion of your money.
I love Groucho Marx.
Oh yeah.
He had another one of those famous sayings that I say all the time when people ask me to join groups or clubs or cigar groups and stuff. I say, I don't want to be a part of any club that would have me as a member.
Right. And the follow up to that was, Groucho wanted to be a member of this famous country club in L.A. And they were like, basically they were denying him entry because he was Jewish. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, my daughter's only half Jewish. Can she go in the pool up to her knees? Groucho was awesome.
Oh, he really was.
I think the greatest thing that Groucho ever did was the Marx Brothers basically reunited to make a movie called A Night in Casablanca, which is not necessarily notable for great Marx Brothers performances, but it is the very first screen appearance of Marilyn Monroe.
Oh wow!
She comes into Groucho's office. His character is Wolf J. Flywheel. She comes into Groucho's office and she sort of flounces in, like this classic blonde, and she goes, "Strange men are following me." And he goes, "I can't imagine why." So it's great. But so the people said, because it had been a long time since the Marx Brothers had made a movie together. They'd done different things, but anyway, Groucho said Chico needed money because he'd gambled away all his money. Somebody wants to ask Chico Marx how much money he had lost gambling, and he said, well, how much money does my brother have in the bank? He said, whatever he has in the bank is what I've lost. I loved it. But anyway, A Night in Casablanca, they were making this movie, and Groucho, he had the radio show. I don't think it was a TV show yet when they were making the movie. But anyway, he was talking up the movie while they were making it, and Warner Brothers sent him a letter. And they said, it's come to our attention that you're making a movie called A Night in Casablanca. And this is on Warner Brothers legal department stationery, and they were saying, you should cease and desist from referring to this movie as A Night in Casablanca because we own Casablanca. And he said, Groucho wrote back and he said, and this is he put it on his Groucho personal stationery, sure. And he wrote back, dear Warner Brothers, I've received your recent communique. In which you order us to cease and desist. We're making a movie called A Night in Casablanca, and you assert that you own Casablanca. Well, that's just one part of the name of our movie, and if we're going to talk about individual names, your name is Warner Brothers. We are the Marx Brothers, and professionally, we've been brothers much longer than you. And the legal department went away. Warner Brothers did nothing after that. It worked. It actually worked. I was like, that's the greatest. That is the greatest.
That is awesome.
But the other great, I think the definitive, in a way, sort of Groucho's ultimate, and it plays into our passion. And Arthur told me this story. Groucho's son, Arthur, who was angry at him for years about this. Groucho's first wife said to him after they'd been married for a number of years, I think Arthur might have been like 10 or 11 years old. She said, Groucho, either the cigars go or I go. And he looked at her without missing a beat and said, well, I hope we can still be friends. And Arthur held that against him for years. He was like, oh, you just threw my mom over for cigars. You know? Like, oh, you mean man, you know? I loved it.
We're talking about pleasure here.
I hope we can still be friends.
We talk about the pleasure principle.
Mm-hmm. So that, to me, that's like those are the two pillars of marital advice that I always give everybody is the Groucho Marx, how to deal with that. When the time comes, I hope we can still be friends, and the Buddy Hackett rule, which is, Buddy was on Johnny Carson's, and he was always trying to find things that made Johnny uncomfortable, right? And Carson, famously lost a tremendous amount of money multiple times to both of his wives that were named Johanna. So he brought it up. Oh, there's Coop. He brought it up, and they started talking, and Buddy Hackett said, if I ever decide to get married again, I'm just going to go out and find a woman I hate and buy her a house.
Just skip all the...
Exactly. I'm going straight to the end. I'm just going to find a woman I hate and buy her a house. I was like, okay. I don't know. I think that warped my young mind. I was like, all right, so this is how it works.
I don't think that was what warped it.
You think? You think?
Oh, wow. This has been good. This has been really good.
Yeah, it's been terrific. I hope you guys don't mind that we were just here having fun and mostly ignoring you. Should we let people know what we're about to do?
Yeah. So if you guys can hear William Cooper, a host of the Cigar Coop podcast, and he is we're going to be continuing on to his show once we finish here in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. So make sure to go over to Facebook to Cigar Coop and look up his live stream episode that's coming up, the 190th episode, right?
Yep.
Part 2 of
yes,
yours.
Exactly.
So be sure to check that out. We'll be coming over to him in just a few moments. How you doing tonight, Coop?
Good,
very good,
good,
very
good.
good, very good.
Coop.
Yeah, thank you. We run a live stream separately on YouTube from 8 to 10, so almost finishing up here.
Yeah, we're
So you're a
we're
guest
close.
on our show
Exactly.
tonight.
You're appearing on the Onocoffee live stream. And Coop, you might have to vamp for a couple minutes if we run a minute over closing out here. Thank you.
We're gonna show you what he looks like. There he is.
There he is. There's Coop. And you guys, if you have not paid attention to Cigar Coop, you should definitely. There's a great library of stuff that you can access via Coop's website or by YouTube. And I'm telling you, the legends have marched through the studios.
The legends.
And sat down, and they have fun. And so that you know, it's not the Coop's gift is that he gets these guys that are absolutely cigar geeks. That are like me that eat, breathe, and sleep cigars, right. But he gets them to talk about all kinds of other stuff, and it's so much fun. They have free range conversations, and he gets people. In a way, it's sort of funny, but he I think probably had this gift before the guy that made the hot wings thing a big deal, you know? He gets the excuse is that you're hanging out and smoking cigars and going through something, but he gets them comfortable enough with the format, and then something happens and all of a sudden they're out in left field talking about something that's totally original, and it's great because it's
Nice.
not like so tell us how did they grow this particular tobacco, and it's none of that. It's like it's this organic path down a conversation, and it's phenomenal.
But also one of the great things about it is the details that he gets about the different cigars too.
Oh, yeah.
And when I'm filling out my humidor notes, a lot of times I'm Googling the cigar, and his posts are always available to me to be able to fill in the information that.
Well, and he
need.
also has a way of very relatably evaluating cigar experiences. You know, there's some people, present company, that have a very high-flown method of talking about cigars, and people are like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" You know, I don't get what the hell. Hey, Aaron,
this cigar tastes like
right? Yeah,
flower beds.
Exactly. And molasses that has been dragged over stones from a dry creek bed, and
It has a little red clay in it.
Exactly. The red clay that's been mixed with wildflower honey by bees that were imported from Brazil. I don't know.
From heaven.
Exactly. Precisely.
Bees imported from heaven.
Yeah. So anyway, Coop, salute to you, to all of our the Onocoffee crew that dial in. Again, my apologies for keeping Jay gagged the entire evening.
I know.
But
Easiest show I've ever done.
we hope
Sure, you're
that,
right.
oh, thank you. We hope that you have found some inspiration to go out and hit your local tobacconist, preferably Rahul at Tobacco Leaf. But we also invite you to dial into Coop's show because it's always fun, even when I'm not on it.
That's right. That's right. And is that correct? It's on Facebook, right, Coop? All right, excellent. Oh, fantastic. All right, so for those of you watching tonight's podcast, thank you for tuning in. We're going to sign off now and move right over to the Cigar Coop, so come join us there. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for
Yes,
listening.
this was
And
great.
we'll look forward to your feedback. You can tell us to shut up, too.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, have a good night.